absolutely no sense, They're just super strange. The fact that they were, that they suddenly morphed into people that he knew, he felt comfortable. That's another detail that pops up in a lot of cases where somebody's, sees a being or something, and then all of a sudden they change and turn into something else, and they're like, oh, that's my friend from, I haven't seen him in years type thing. It's like they're pillaging your memories for someone to latch onto and to kind of create. So to calm you, I guess. It's an interesting thing that they were able to do that.
It was December 24th, 1974, the day before Christmas. John Marcus, a pseudonym, was driving north on an interstate highway just east and roughly parallel to the lower part of the New Jersey Turnpike, in the Cherry Hill area. It was sometime after midnight, between 12 and 1 a.m. I had the entire road to myself, it seemed, as no other car lights were in sight in either direction. I may have been a half hour or so into New Jersey from the Delaware Bridge. I was in the left lane when whatever it was ran up from my left and out from the sizable median separating us northbounders from the southbound lanes. The median sloped down out of sight, so there was no warning of its heading my way, and I didn't see it until it was on the road. In an instant, everything Marcus thought he knew about life and the nature of reality be altered forever. It almost immediately stopped while in the most left lane, right in front of me. As it spotted my car approaching, it quickly stopped, faced me, and stood erect, acting like a deer frozen for a moment in the headlights. The expression on its face seemed one of shock, like, what was I doing there? I reciprocated, but was busy trying to slow down without losing control. I had a good look at it, perhaps for 2 to 3 seconds before it turned in the direction from whence it had come and scampered off back into the median, down out of sight once again. Marcus described that the creature he saw that night was humanoid, but not human. It seemed thinner and more gangly than a human, possibly taller, but it may have only seemed tall due to its relative thinness coupled with the relative long arms and legs compared to its torso. It had no clothes. Its entire body was a uniform dull white, or perhaps a light shade of gray. The head was hairless and thin, as well, not like any human head I've ever seen. Though it faced me and was naked, I recall no other physical features. Marcus admits that the creature seemed just as shocked to see him as he was to see it. It seemed quite surprised to see me, judging by the expression of its eyes and mouth, as if it were a wild animal entering a road for the first time. Another odd detail that may or may not be linked to the creature's appearance. On that evening, Marcus claims that he had a passenger, a priest of all people, who was a friend, who was bumming a ride to New York City from college for winter break. At the time, he had asked Marcus if he could lay down in his back seat and take a quick nap before they got back to the city. At the time of the creature's appearance, this friend was indeed asleep. He did not see anything. It seemed so surreal that after it happened, I only shared the experience with my wife, who was already in New York the next day, and pretty much forgot about it, as I regarded it as an oddity that would remain unexplained. It wasn't until a few years ago that I read about greys, etc. I now suspect that's what it was.
He said that it seemed surprised that he was there, and he didn't know where what's going on. And it sounds like in a lot of these reports too, it sounds like these beings suddenly just pop into places and they don't know where they are, they don't know what's going on. I mean, in a lot of these cases, people will describe that the beings seem surprised, wow, what's going on here? It's interesting. And if they are popping in from somewhere, where are they coming from? Are they coming from people's minds? Are they tulpas? Are they coming from some other reality? Where are they coming from? How are they just popping up places? And then they're startled. Like, what's going on here? It's interesting to me.
It was December 25th, 2005, British Columbia, Canada. The witness, David Bell, a pseudonym, recalled one Christmas night that he had a most extraordinary visit. And no, it wasn't from Santa Claus. He remembered that it was Christmas Eve, and he was alone at his Port Alberni home in British Columbia. He had laid down on the couch next to the Christmas tree and passed out. He had placed a $50 gift certificate in the tree meant for his parents. He noted that there were 3 other gift cards in the tree, one for him, a gift to him from a family member, and the other 2 were for his 2 brothers, which he would give them as presents when they arrived later that morning. As most people do, he had made sure to lock all the doors and windows before laying down. At around midnight, he found himself waking up. While still half asleep, he peered over and noticed something odd. There were people standing outside on the back patio step, looking in. According to Bell, as he focused his eyes, he began to make out that these were not people. What he saw was a strange creature, short, thin, gray skin with large black eyes. The closest he could compare it to is a typical gray ET. Behind this creature, he saw 3 men in black suits. After a few seconds, they came inside. Not by opening the patio door, mind you, but by walking through it. The door was a glass door that was broken, so it was boarded up and could not be opened. They walked straight through it. Bell acknowledged that he knew exactly what he was looking at. These were entities. These were absolutely not people. Further, the movie Men in Black had already been released at the time, so he knew what these 3 men in black suits represented. As soon as these thoughts entered his mind, the gray entity suddenly stopped and looked in his direction, as if it somehow telepathically heard his thoughts. It was at this point things took an even stranger turn. Once the gray being realized that he was awake and looked at him, suddenly, according to Bell, quote, they all turned into people I recognized, like family members. For some reason, this comforted him enough that he fell back asleep. Under normal circumstances, he would have gotten up to greet them or ask them how they were. Instead, he merely turned over and went back to sleep. The next morning, when Bell woke, he discovered that the gift card that was addressed to him from the family member was gone. I searched the entire house and found nothing, yet the ones for my brothers were still there. Had these beings arrived on Christmas Eve to steal his gift card? Why? Why would beings from some other space and time or from the farthest reaches of the galaxy arrive at his house to snatch his gift card? Maybe there is more to Bell's story than he realizes.
It just seems like there's more to this story than we really know. It's pretty strange that 3 men in black and a gray being would show up on Christmas Eve to basically take his gift card. I think probably more to the story, possibly something happened in the scuffle or his gift card was lost. That makes more sense to me, but none of this stuff makes sense a lot of times. You just find yourself reading these stories and you're like, why would they do that? That's so strange. I don't understand that. That's part of, I think, the part of what makes these stories so fascinating is that we can't really understand why they do what they do.
A snowmobiler has a very strange encounter, one that may tie into an event later in his life. It was December 16, 1975, Cranberry Portage, Manitoba, Canada. About a week before Christmas, Al Reed, a pseudonym, and his two friends, all around the ages of 15 and 16 years old, had gone out to Lake Athapapuska to do some snowmobiling. At around 9 p.m., after snowmobiling most of the day, the friends decided to stop and have a cigarette. That is when they noticed a light moving across the sky, heading in their direction. We thought it was an airplane that was going to land. It came right above us. It was about 150 feet in the air. It stopped right on top of us. There was not a sound from it or any movement. Being teenagers, Reed admits that they got a little cocky, yelling at the light, which they all determined must be a UFO, to, quote, "Come and get us." Nothing happened, at least that I know of, he recalled. Regarding the object he saw, he claims that it was circle-shaped, quote, like a saucer. It had a light on it that was red and yellow. It also had windows. We could see the light from the inside. After a few minutes, the object slowly took off, making no sound. One of the friends lived close by, and so the boys quickly got back on their snowmobiles and drove to his house. We phoned the police, the RCMP, and were told that there were people that called in already, and not to worry about it. The friend's older brother, who was there, thought that they were just making the whole thing up. He agreed to return to the lake with them to see if it had returned. To their surprise, it was there. By then it was a little ways from us, but he, the older brother, did see it. The thing just vanished in front of our eyes, like it was never there. Bell eventually put the event out of his mind until something bizarre happened later in his life that caused him to rethink that cold night in 1975. At the age of 42, Reed claims that while in the hospital, he suffered a severe heart attack and passed away very briefly before being revived. He claims that when he came to, all he could see around him were shadows. He was inside some room, and he recalls that his first thought in those fleeting moments was that he was inside the object that he had observed with his friends that night back in 1975. He had no way to verify it, but he was certain that this room was inside that craft. As he looked around, he could make out that he was on some sort of table, and these shadows he was seeing were humanoid in form. He got the sense that they were, quote, experimenting on him. He believed these people were the ones inside the UFO. When he attempted to sit up, the beings stopped him. All I could think was, if I do not get up, I will die. So I ended up fighting with the nurse and the doctor for my life, because I really thought I was inside a flying saucer. So were these hallucinations, or did his brief demise trigger a memory of a long-forgotten event from his past? Were he and his friends actually taken after taunting the craft? And at this final moment of his life, Reed was given a brief glimpse into an experience that, up to that point, he had no memory of. If it was merely a hallucination, then why hallucinate about being on board a craft he saw 30 years earlier? In the end, I guess we will never know.
This isn't the first time I've heard of something like this. There are a couple of sites on the internet that collect NDE reports, or near-death experiences. People pass on and they're revived, and people describe what they see on the other side. I know that I've come across a few reports in which people claimed that they've passed away and then they've woken up on board a ship, things like that. I know there was one case I read that was very detailed about what he saw, how he saw a bunch of computers and stuff like that. And there was another case where a guy had passed and he said that he saw the light, and you're supposed to go towards the light or whatever. He said he saw the light, and then he said that he realized that there were these people that were holding him, like trying to stop him from going to the light. And he said that he turned around and was looking at them, and he said that the best way he could describe them was that they looked like grays. He said they had these large black eyes. He said and they were desperately trying to stop him from going towards the light. So these cases exist.
Anyways, that's the Christmas episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great Christmas, everyone.